Could be. One more. Oh, that's automatically negotiated between them. If I connect it before starting the computer, now let's complete this. Let us change the display. Okay. गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमस्यवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः ॐ वृषभं चर्षणीनां विश्वरूपमदाभ्यम् बृहस्पतिं वरेण्यम् ॐ तद्विष्णोः परमं पदं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिवि वचक्षुराततम् ॐ ऐं ह्रीं श्रीं क्लीं हसौः जगत्प्रसूत्यै नमः ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं ज्योतिर्ब्रह्माय नमः. Everybody say after me Hare Rama Krishna 3 times. Om Hare Rama Krishna Hare Rama Krishna Hare Rama Krishna. I was just quickly checking my chart. Today I'm usually late, but today I'm more late because I lost an extra 10 minutes because of a car problem. The car wouldn't start, so I had to keep trying for 10 minutes. So that is, I was just checking my daily chart. We can actually check together to see if anything stands out in the daily chart, because we talked about the daily chart yesterday. The data, as everybody listening to the audio should know by now, is April 4, 1970, 5:47:13 p.m. Indian Standard Time, Machilipatnam, India, 81 East 12, 16 North 15. For those of you who are confused why I am saying different numbers, I changed the time zone here to the time zone of this place, so that when I make the calculations to see exactly what is the dasha I am running in the morning when I was starting, you will know the exact dasha. So you click on this circle which has a TZ written on it, that icon, and then you say, if you say use the time zone of birth, it will show the time. It will show all the times displayed in the various calculations based on the time zone of birth, which is 5:30 East. If you click on this, I think there is another way. You can say edit, change time zone in the menu. So if you do that, if you say instead of use the time zone of birth, if you say use the time zone entered below, and if you say 4 hours west of GMT instead of 5 hours 30 minutes east of GMT, then it will convert all the times to this time zone, but nothing has changed. All the calculations are still the same. As a point in time, it is still the same point in time, but you are expressing in a different number because you are saying it with respect to another time zone. That's it. Just convenience. And then I went to the Tithi tab and I entered the date and time of the event. So around 8:25, 8:30, 8:35, that's the time. When I was struggling with the car, and finally I got going. And at that time, so I entered the date, August 14, 2005, 8:30 a.m., 4 hours west of GMT. This is the time when the event happened. So I just by default this shows, this combo box here shows annual chart. I changed it to the daily chart. Which basically you'll find the daily chart for this time. You can say before or after. So I want the day that started before this event. So I want the day that was running during this event. So I selected before, and then I clicked on find Privesha chart. So it found when the previous day started. In terms of, we talked about the day has 12-degree movement of moon with respect to sun since birth. Sun and moon are a certain delta. When moon, the delta, the angular distance between moon and sun advances by 12 degrees, one day in the life of the native passes. Another 12 degrees, another day. Like that, if you keep going, you get various days. So when you do that, the day that started previously was on August 13, 2005 at 1:33 p.m. So yesterday around 1:33 p.m. the Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the new day started. So I clicked on Sri Ashtotri Dasha because this is the Dasha that we use with annual, monthly and daily charts. So when I did that, because the event I was interested in was around 8:30 this morning, I found which Dasha was running at that time. So on 8/14, which is August 14, from 5:10 till 7:40, Rahu Dasha was running. And from 7:40 till 12, it is Venus Dasha that will be running. So right now I am running Venus Dasha, including at the time of the event. So is Venus Dasha today in this chart capable of giving any problems relating to vehicles? Okay. First of all, Venus is the Karaka for vehicles. He is the significator of vehicles. And in the Rashi chart, he is quite badly placed. He is in Manakaraka Sthana, so he can show some problem, some disappointment, some frustration, or some undesirable event relating to the second house or seventh house or possibly his Karakatva, which is vehicles, so many other things. Venus is a significator for so many things, but vehicles is one of the things. And if you want to see Rashi, will only tell you approximately because there are so many areas that are covered. If you want to see the exact environment relating to vehicles, what is the chart for it? Rashi is entire physical existence, where various environments, dharmic environment, professional environment, environment of pleasures and vehicles, etc., they all converge and they all manifest in the physical domain. So that is Rashi chart. So which is the chart for vehicles? D16, the Shodashamsa. D16 is the chart in which you see vehicles. And how is Venus in D16? Yeah, he is the fourth lord and he is the ninth lord. Basically, he is the fourth lord. Fourth house is the house of vehicles. And he is in the 12th house. So you can show some compromise or some disappointment, some loss or some giving up, etc. So it's not really, he is not really well placed. And moreover, he is from the 4th house. Because we are talking about a vehicle here, or we are talking about my happiness with the vehicle. My happiness from my vehicle. So that happiness is seen from the 4th house. So taking the 4th house as Lagna, taking that as the reference point, how is Venus placed? He is the Lord of it. So he controls it, but he is unfortunately placed in a Badhaka Sthana. If somebody is in Badhaka Sthana, what kind of troubles do they show? Some unexpected troubles. You don't know why the trouble happened, you don't know why the trouble disappeared. That kind of troubles are shown by planets involved with the Badhaka Sthana. So Venus is in Badhaka Sthana. But can his Dasha create a really big problem with the vehicle, or will it be just an inflation? Because he is for God's sake, he is a Yokaraka in this chart, even though he is not well placed. And from the 4th house, he is only in Badhaka Sthana, but he is the Lord of Lagna. If you take the 4th house Taurus as Lagna, he is the Lord of Lagna. So Lord of Lagna will never harm the Lagna. But being in Badhaka Sthana, he can give some troubles or irritation. So basically around for 10 minutes I was struggling to get the car started, and then finally I succeeded. I was thinking of taking the van from my wife and leaving the car to her. But luckily I didn't have to do that.
In both cases it's not of vehicle.
Yeah, easy? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. See, the lord of A6. What is sixth house? Venus is the lord of A6. That is Farney's point. What does A6 show? Obstacles and overcoming obstacles, working hard to overcome the obstacles, etc. So he can, so Venus can show some obstacles. And recovery was just started. So, I mean, earlier it was starting, but it was stopping. When I was moving, it was stopping. It was going to 0 RPM. Even when it started, the RPM was very low. And when I tried to reverse it, it would go a little distance and then it would stop. And then I have to put it in the park and retry to start it. So I kept doing it, forward, backward, and finally the RPM went up.
Bad gasoline.
For me?
Bad gasoline.
Maybe.
Water in the gasoline.
Oh, is that right?
It's got, you're getting some problems with condensation moisture. And when the heat went up, the water went more into the gas, and then I think you have water in there.
Okay. So
you put dry gas in there, and you go to an auto store. They have something with water moisture.
I see. I'll do that.
But maybe it's all gone now. Anyway.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But also you have literally take the gas.
Yeah. That could be true. Earlier I used to go to mobile, decent companies, but recently because it's a 140,000 mile old car, I've been going to Gulf and all kinds of stupid places. So maybe that's the reason.
The older the car, the better the gas you use.
Maybe you're right. Okay. Thanks for the tip. Thanks for the non-astrological tip. But astrological. So when I walked into the class, because I didn't get a chance to look at this, so when I walked into the chart, I was just curious to see if there was anything in the daily chart.
This is from went to daily chart.
Yeah.
So even if we go down from natural and come down to
yeah.
Whatever.
It may or may not really show. May or may not. If something is suppose I am teaching astrology right now, and I am spending a solid hour and a half or a couple of hours on this. So this will definitely show. When I look at the Deha Antardasa in the Vishwatri Dasa, this should show. But if I am talking about a 5-minute or 10-minute iteration, it may or may not show. It may show if you also integrate the transits along with the Dasa. So if I drill down all the way up to the 6th level, the Deha Antardasa, and use transits, etc., it may show, but we are not really experts in that kind of astrology. So any major event, because Deha Antardasas will last for anything between 4 hours to 7, 8 hours. So that is the time frame we are talking about. So during that time, it has to be an important event. Then it will really show. Otherwise, it may or may not show. Okay. Now, let us stop this analysis. But just to satisfy you, let us see what's going on there. So we look at the Vimshatri Dasa, and I always, when I use my Vimshatri Dasa with this time, I subtract 1 day, 4 hours, 17 minutes from the calculations of the software, and then I get calculations that I'm happy with. So at the same time I found, look at an event not up to Pratyanta Dasa but up to Dehanta Dasa. So the Dehanta Dasa that was running was that of Rahu. So from 1:41 a.m. this morning, basically midnight, till 10:53, basically another hour, during this period I am running Rahu's Dasa. Rahu's Dehanta Dasa. Now, what are the various possible events results in Rahu Dasa? Let's say we take D16. If you take D16 is the chart of vehicles. He is the 8th lord, he is in Bhadrasthana, so he is actually, during Rahu's period there can be some problems. By the way, will Rahu give his own results? Or will he give Mercury's results? What is the order of Mercury, Rahu, Ketu here? Who is most malefic, who is most malefic? Who is most malefic, Rahu or Ketu? Why? No, I'm talking about natural, for interchange of results, we have to arrange in the order of natural beneficence, not functionally whether the planet is 8th lord or 6th lord. So in general, if Rahu and Ketu are together in a divisional chart, when you arrange them in the decreasing order of beneficence, what is your take? Is Rahu more benefic or Ketu more benefic? Yeah. Okay. So would you say that the order should be Mercury, Rahu, Ketu in this chart? Good. Anybody else has any other view? See, if you discriminate between Rahu and Ketu and say that Rahu is always the bad guy, Rahu will feel bad. So you should not do that. Pardon? Both are nodes, both are shady, but one is spiritually shady, one is materially shady. So one basically takes you in the material direction, the other takes you in the spiritual direction. And when you are talking about charts relating to spirituality or dharma, getting children, marriage, doing dharma, all those things, Ketu, you can consider Ketu to be more beneficial than Rahu. But when you are talking about having a nice car, driving around, having pleasure from your TV, if you are talking about these things, Ketu is definitely, he wants you to give up all those things. If necessary, he can give you a big trouble so that you learn your lesson and realize that this is not working. So Ketu can go to an extreme because he doesn't like it. Of course, Rahu can do the same in other areas, but like I said, both are shady. Both are very extreme. But depending on whether you are looking at material things or spiritual things, you can consider one of them to be more beneficial. So here I would say the order is Mercury, Rahu and Ketu. So Ketu and Mercury will end up exchanging their results. So Rahu will basically give his own results. And the reference that you should primarily use when you are judging the Dehanta Dasha is Lagna. When you are judging the Mahadasha result, what is the trend in those 17 years of Mercury Mahadasha? If you want to judge the overall trend in a Mahadasha, look at Sun. Sun is the important difference. If you want to judge the Antardasha during those 2-3 years, what is the main theme of life? What are the main trends? If you want to judge that, then look at the Antardasha planet, but the main difference should be, Lagna also should be considered, but the main difference is Moon. So Sun, Moon, and then for Prachanta Dasha it is Lagna. And then when you drill down to the next level, for Sukshmanta Dasha, the 4th level, the reference is Atmakaraka, the Chara Atmakaraka, who is basically like Sun, but more personalized, more minute, more Sukshma. So in the Sukshmanta Dasha, use the Chara Atmakaraka. As a matter of fact, this is not accurate. Use all Karakas, because all Karakas show your Atma. Atmakaraka is only the king of all the Karakas. Various Karakas, when I say Jnati Karaka, we say that Jnati Karaka shows rivals, your relatives who may be competing with you, your competitors, your rivals, etc. But it's not exactly that Jnati Karaka will show the souls of other people. All these Karakas show your soul, but various aspects of it. So Jnatikaraka is the part of your soul which is dealing with various rivalries, competition, etc. So in any case, when you use the Sukshmanta Dasha, you should check from various Karakas. If you see, for example, a Maraka Dasha is running from Matrakaraka. A Maraka Sukshmanta Dasha is running from Matrakaraka. When you take Matrakaraka as the Dasha, during that Sukshmanta Dasha, maybe something can happen to mother, like that. And similarly, Samasikaraka is involved, maybe your career, your activities in the world will be affected. So like that, we'll see more examples later, but for now, just put it in your head that it is Sun, Moon, Lagna, then Charakarakas, especially Atmakaraka, if you want to see yourself, Charakarakas. Then the 5th level is Pranapada Lagna. There is a Lagna called Pranapada Lagna, which is shown as PP in Jagannath Hora. This Pranapada Lagna is seen for the 5th level, the Pranantar Dasha. And the last level, Dehantar Dasha, again you go to the Lagna. So this is what we have from the tradition. Okay? And then another method when you are judging various of these dashas, antardashas, etc., there is another good method, assuming you have all the calculations perfect. It is never the case. So whatever I am teaching here with respect to Vimshottari Dasha is mainly of academic interest. Unless you are really serious, you look at various events in your life and time and rectify your time very accurately. And after you rectify your time accurately, you rectify your Dasha session accurately. Like I did, for example. I said shift all the dates by 1 day, 4 hours and 17 minutes. If I didn't do that, things don't make sense. When I look at various past events in my life, things don't make sense. So assuming that you do all this, then you can look at the Dasha Pravesha Chakra. Dasha Pravesha means the entry of the Dasha. So you make a chart when a Dasha starts, or when an Antardasha starts, or when a Pratyantardasha starts, and then see how the next level planets are placed in the chart. For example, if I want to see various things that happen in these various Dehantardashas, I should go one level up. Go to Pranantardasha, see the entry chart of that period. So this entry chart was cast at the time Jupiter's Pranantardasha started. When the Jupiter Pranantardasha started, it's like a new birth. The Jupiter Pranantardasha basically took birth during that time. And various of sub-periods in that Pranantardasha, these various Dehantardashas, are basically like dashas in that life. So just like you take the entire life of the native and take Mahadasha, you can take the Mahadasha as a new life and consider Antardashas to be the dashas in that life. You see what I am saying? Similarly, when you take this particular Pranantardasha, which started on August 11 at 9:29:25 p.m. and goes on till August 14, 10:53:44 a.m. So during these 3 days, if you take, you can consider the existence during these 3 days to be a new birth, and that birth is controlled by the chart when it starts. So when the Jupiter Pranantardasha starts, which is August 11, 2005, 21, 29, 25, using the Eastern Daylight Saving Time as the time zone. So at that time, this Pranantardasha started. So it is as if a new life started then. That new life is nothing but these 3 days of Jupiter Pranantardasha. So all these Dehantardashas are basically like dashas within the short life. So what you can do is, if you want to judge a particular Dehantardasha, what is possible in Mars period, what is possible in Rahu's period, etc. If you want to do that, what you can do is, you can see how that planet is in this chart, in the Rashi as well as various divisional charts. So if we see the Rashi chart, how is Rahu? Rahu's Dehantardasha was running in the morning. When I was sleeping, then I woke up, I came here, and now I am speaking. During this whole period, Rahu's Dehantardasha was running. So what kind of results can Rahu promise? He is the 7th Lord in the 8th house. He is a Maraka. Of course, just because a Dehantardasha planet is in Margasthana doesn't mean that occurs every day, so many times. But it shows some problem basically, because we are not talking about the entire life here. This chart that we made here is for those 3 days. Just for those 3 days. For me? Oh, that is in the natal chart, not PP. I would have to consider when I am judging Rahu's Dehantardasha, I would have to judge from the Lagna. Okay? And if I want to, for example, judge how Jupiter's Pranantardasha would be, I would consider from this PP. So from PP, Jupiter is in the 6th house, a benefic in the 6th house, 8th and 11th Lord. He is a functional malefic. So suppose you want to judge how these 3 days are for me. What you would do is, first look at Rashi chart. PP is the reference. From that reference, Jupiter is 8th and 11th Lord. He is a functional malefic, but he is in 6th house. So he is giving Viparita Rajoga. He is alone. The natal chart. Only in the natal chart. When you go to the Dasha Pravesha or Antardasha Pravesha or Pratyantardasha Pravesha or Dehantardasha Pravesha chart, the entry chart of the Dehantardasha, then this is, like I said, this is like a new life. And Lagna there again is the birth of that life. So you judge the next level using that Lagna period. So if you want to judge the previous few days, Jupiter is giving Viparita Rajoga, he is in the 6th house. If a benefic is in the 6th house, it's a period when you are not struggling or when you are not, health will be reasonable, you don't have any problems, things will be going smoothly. So those are the various results you can get. But of course, you can go through various divisional charts. For example, look at D24. What is D24? This is the chart of learning. D24 is the chart of learning. Just give me a second, because I was experimenting with the installation. Okay, this is accurate. Something else. Oops. 100. Okay, the options are correct. Okay, so Pranapada Lagna is in Sagittarius in D24. So as far as learning activities are concerned, how will Jupiter Dasha be? Jupiter Satyanta Dasha during these few days. How will this period be? He is Lagna Lord giving Hamsa Yoga basically from that Lagna. He is in the 4th house. Lagna and 4th Lord in the 4th house. So he is well placed in the 4th house of learning. So during these few days there will be a lot of learning. And the Jupiter is aspecting the 10th house from Pranapada Lagna for me. Could be, but we are focusing on PT now. So he is aspecting the 10th house. Aspecting the 7th house by Rashi Drishti. By Rashi Drishti, yes. But if you see both Rashi and Graha, he is aspecting the 10th house by Rashi and Graha Drishti. So there can be some, Jupiter can give, he has a desire to give results relating to this house, and also he has the ability to give because he has Rashi Drishti. So he is very likely to give results relating to the 10th house. So some activities in the society, and he is aspecting Rahu and Ketu, the 12th lord of giving, the 3rd lord of communication. So there will be a lot of giving, there will be a lot of communications, etc. during this period in the society. 10th house is karma in the society, and especially the planets there are the 3rd lord and the 12th lord. So there will be a lot of, during Jupiter's Prananta Dasha, there will be a lot of communications relating to astrology, etc. How is it in the career? See where Pranapada Lagna is here. Can anybody find it? It's in Pisces. Jupiter is the Lord of Pranapada Lagna. For me, Jupiter is the Lord of Pranapada Lagna, and he is in the 11th house, and he is joining Ketu. There is a Raj Yoga between them. Ketu is the 9th lord. If you take TT as Lagna, from there Ketu is the 9th lord, and Jupiter is the 1st and 10th lord. So there is a conjunction between 9th and 10th lord, and 9th and 1st lord. So there is a Raj Yoga between them. And Jupiter, even though he is debilitated, he is retrograde, so he acts as if he is exalted. So overall, it's a good time in career, it's a good time for learning, lot of communications, etc. And see D20, how is it spiritually? As far as spiritual activities are concerned, how is Jupiter present at Dasha? He is the 9th lord and 12th lord, sitting in the 7th house. So for me, he is giving, definitely there will be some desire during these few days, but there will be some strong desire. Basically relating to 9th house and 12th house. So moksha as well as 9th house is dharmic activity. So in spiritual life, doing some rituals, etc., there will be strong interest, strong desire to do some rituals, etc., during this period. So these are, like this, you can judge this Jupiter present Prananta Dasha using the Pranapada Lagna as well. So this is one aspect. There are various aspects. One aspect is take the natal chart, take the corresponding reference, see what are the indications. The second aspect is take the previous level lord. For example, we are looking at Mercury's Sukshmanta Dasha. This is not any Jupiter PAD, not any Jupiter Prananta Dasha, because Jupiter Prananta Dasha comes so many times. It is not reasonable to expect the same result every time. So when you say Jupiter is so and so lord in so and so house, various results are possible. Out of those, you should find some that are also consistent with the results promised by Jupiter with respect to Mercury. Because when you are looking at Mercury Sukshmanta Dasha, you can take Mercury as Lagna and see how Jupiter is. So if you take, for example, D24, the chart of learning, Mercury is in Libra. So take Mercury as Lagna and see how Jupiter is. He's the third lord, he's the sixth lord, right? He's the third and sixth lord in the sixth house. So he is likely to give results relating to third house, sixth house, lot of initiatives, lot of communications, lot of arguments. So those are the results Jupiter promises. When his period comes within Mercury's period. Because when you are looking at Jupiter's period within Mercury's period as a sub-period, you can take Mercury as Lagna and see how Jupiter is. So that is one aspect of it. Now the third aspect is take the entry chart. So when you take the entry chart, how is Jupiter? If you take the Rashi chart, Jupiter is the Lagna Lord in the 10th house. So he is showing lot of activities in the society, Jupiterian and Ketuine activities in the society. If you take D24, did I do that right? No, I didn't. So if you take the D24, he is the Lagna Lord and 4th Lord in the 11th house, showing lot of learning. So now you have to consolidate all these things. See what are the things that stand out. When you look at all the factors, see the things that stand out. And what are the things that stand out? Those of you who have a good memory and remembered everything will realize that third house stands out. Because in one case, Jupiter was aspecting the third lord in the 10th house. In the other case, Jupiter was third lord. And the 10th house stands out. Because in one case, Jupiter was aspecting the 10th house. In the other case, Jupiter was in the 10th house from Rashi. So when you look at various factors, see things that stand out. So you can say that as far as learning is concerned, during these 3 days, there will be a lot of activities in society. There will be a lot of communication, etc. And for those of you who are on the list called Sohamsa, SOHA, MSA, Yahoo Group, they will know that I was very active talking about Rigdasa, arguing with Sanjay about Rigdasa asked by Parashka versus Rigdasa asked by Sanjay ji. So there was a lot of arguments also, like we saw Jupiter in the south. Lot of arguments, lot of communication, lot of basically sharing my understanding with the entire list and everybody. So all those things may be corroborated by the third house and 10th house link. But this is basically how you get it. So one aspect is take from the previous level period lord in various divisional charts, see how this planet is placed. The other is at the start of the period, which is very delicate, because when you are talking about the start of a period, you can't be 100% sure unless you exercise thoroughly and you are absolutely sure. In that chart, see how this planet is. And the third is, if you don't want to do all this, just use the natal differences. Sun, Moon, Lagna, Charakaraka, Pranapad Lagna, Lagna. Using those differences, see how the planets are. And as you consider more factors, you will get more insight. And finally, I have not at all talked about the transits. But you should ideally also correlate with the transits. But let us totally leave that, because I am also not 100% sure. There are some things I know, some things I am not sure of. So this is something that we need to work on. Especially for high levels, we have some guidelines. But when we go to drill down to the lower levels, how to correlate the period with the transits, the positions of planets exactly at the time. That is a little bit tricky. But you should realize that when we take the Dasha Pravesha chart, Antardasha Pravesha chart, etc., that is basically a way of correlating the transits. But there may be more to it. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Do I have a chart? Okay. Can we share the data with people who are listening? The data, this chart belongs to Tejasvi Pucha. The data is May 26, 1988, 7:27:54 a.m. Indian Standard Time, Secunderabad, 78 degrees 30 minutes east, 17 degrees 27 minutes north. This is the chart of a roughly 17-year-old young man who's at big crossroads in his life. So the event that we want to look at is
body pain also the day.
He was seriously sick with body pains throughout the day yesterday. Is he still in India or is he here now? He's in India. Okay, he's in India. He went back to India this year. Yeah.
So I was looking at the chart and that's why I asked if you can convey this from just particular time when to.
If I need to really do that confidently, I will have to be sure of the time. Up to not only up to seconds, but up to fraction of seconds.
Yeah.
So like
When you do the preliminary chart or when you do the method?
even for that, let me show you. Let us say, look at an event on August 13. Let us roughly say 12 o'clock. So we are taking August 13 noon, India Standard Time. See what was the Dehanta Dasha running, okay? Did you say day before yesterday? Fine, that's fine. So August 12. Okay, August 12 noon in Indian Standard Time. So roughly at that time, what was the Dehanta Dasha running? We want to find out. It is Sun. Sun started at 11:45 and went on till 12:26. So actually, he is running a very small Dasha. So all the Dehanta Dashas are running very fast. Everything is an hour. So it may be worthwhile to focus on the Prananta Dasha. So Venus Prananta Dasha was running from 9:30 in the morning that day till 11:06 in the evening, in the night that day. So basically that whole day when he had body pain seems to be under Venus Prananta Dasha. Okay. Now let me do one thing. Let's change. The time is 7:27:54. Let us say it is 7:27:56. Okay. Or let us say 7:27:52. I want to move it backwards so the times move forward. So if I do that, now see where is Venus. So it did not make a lot of difference. First thing is, first dasha is that of Sun. So the approximate formula I gave you is Mn divided by 4, right? M is the minutes of error in the birth time. N is the number of years of dasha, the first dasha. So Mn divided by 4 days is the error in the day, error in the dasha days. So here first dasha is that of Sun and Sun dasha is 6 years. So N is basically 6. And let us say there is 1 minute error. Actually, not second, let's say there is 1 minute error. So M is 1. So Mn divided by 4, how much will it be? 6 by 4. So it's basically 1.5 days. So let's assume that the time may be accurate, but let's assume just for the sake of assumption that I was being too conservative, not 2 seconds, but let's say the time is 7:28:54 instead of 7:27:51. 1 minute error. And let's say either the time was not noted down very accurately or whoever rectified did not look at all the events. Based on the events that he knew, it may have made sense. 7:27:54 may have made sense, but maybe 7:28:54 is right. Let's assume that. Now let us do the same thing. Locate an event and do the same thing. Now the Prananta Dasha on that day is Mercury. It's not Venus. It has moved by 2 Prananta Dasha. So it could be Mercury, it could be Venus. So we don't really know for sure. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the natal chart, neither makes sense. If he was sick on that day, it should be seen in the Rashi chart without going to DC. And Mercury and Venus are both really fine. Of course, I told you other techniques, like Dasha Pravesha, etc. But there should be something in the chart itself, in the natal chart. So you don't really expect him to get sick either during Mercury period or Venus period. So it could be Ketu period or it could be Sun period. So there are various possibilities. Yeah. Are you 100% sure that 7:27:54 is right? Yeah. So D24 has a 4-minute window. So whoever rectified using D24 may not know that it is exactly this second. They will know this D24 Lagna is right. It is this 4-minute window. And as you rectify using more and more events, more and more divisional charts, the window can become narrow. But are you sure that the window is narrow enough that there can't be a one minute error? As long as you are not, you can't use this. But we are not done. We'll finish it and then I'll ask you a question. So let us not go to the Nakshatra Dasha. See, my advice to you, my honest advice to you is, if you want to use Nakshatra Dasha, go up to Pratyanta Dasha. Mahadasha, Antardasha, Pratyanta Dasha. That's it. Because each Pratyanta Dasha will last a couple of months or 3 months or 4 months maximum I think 5 months. So it's a large period. We are not talking about 1 day or 1 hour like that. So it is more or less reliable. Even if there is a few days of error in the calculation, still you are basically fine. So use the Nakshatra Dasha when you haven't done a really super fine rectification. Use it up to Pratyanta Dasha. You may be able to use it up to Sukshmanta Dasha, but you have to be careful. And when it comes to looking at this week versus next week, somebody is sick, will he become better next week, or is the sickness going to continue for a month, or is it just 3 days? If you want to get sense of that kind of thing, look at transit as well as the annual Tithi Pravesha chart. Tithi Pravesha is a really good technique if you want to focus on a couple of months or a couple of weeks. You can look at Tithi Pravesha, the annual chart, look at various Dashas, Antardashas. Again, don't go below Antardashas there. Go up to Antardasha. So that is one. And if you want to look at individual days and the individual hours, daily Tithi Pravesha chart is good, but like I said in the last class, this is not a perfect technique. This is basically the only thing that came from traditionally. You can make daily charts. That's it. The rest is our inference. The rest is basically my influence. And even this Tithi Ashtotri Dasha is my influence. I was experimenting with one kind of Tithi Ashtotri Dasha for daily charts. It wasn't working. Then Sanjay ji came and suggested something else. I tried and I was reasonably happy. So I am using it. But it is not written in stone. Whereas Vinshtotri Dasha is written in stone. Narayana Dasha is kind of written in stone. Though not a really, it's a written stone, but it's written in stone. But this is not written in stone at all. This is written in sponge. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt. But if you try to use Nakshatra Dashas to see what happened last minute or last hour, that is very unwise to do. So let us look at the daily chart. So you said the event was on August 12. So let's see before August 12 noon, what was the day that started? On August 11 at 11:50, on August 11 around noon time, a new day started. And if you say instead of before, if you say after, the next day will come. The next day happened. I didn't see. Yeah, the next day started at 12:20 on August 12. So previous day, the day that you said you were sick, that day at around 12:20, a new day started. So do you want us to focus on the previous day or the next day? When did the sickness start? Around 11:12. And he was sick for the entire day.
Around 11, actually.
Yeah?
But 11
Oh, it started on 11th also. Oh, okay. So it was basically the previous day that he got sick on. So the daily chart of the day when he got sick and suffered is Nakshatra Dasha, let us leave it. But let us see if Tithi Pravesha, the daily Tithi Pravesha chart shows something. Let us do that. So if you make the chart for August 11, the chart is cast for August 11, 2005, 11:50:06, Indian Standard Time, Secunderabad. Same longitude and latitude as birth. So the weekday was Thursday. Why did I look at weekday? We will see later. And then what is the other thing? Hora. Hora Lord is moon. So moon is the Hora Lord and Jupiter is the weekday Lord. And let us look at Rashi chart as well as D6. Perfect. Let us see these charts and see is there any chance of sickness during the day. Is there any chance of problem during the day? Pardon me? So if you look at the Hora Lord as the ruler of the day, how is moon? He is in Lagna. Is he a good planet to be in Lagna or a bad planet? Yeah. 10th Lord. Is 10th Lord a benefic or malefic? Why? That way everything is benefic. 11th house is benefic, 3rd house, initiative is benefic, 6th house. If you have obstacles, overcome the obstacles. That is also benefic. Everything is benefic. But according to Parashara's definition, what are the benefic houses, what are the malefic houses? The trines are benefic. The second house and 8th house are, second house, 8th house and 12th house are neutral. Signs are benefic. 3, 6 and 11 are malefic. No, not here. Just 3, 6 and 11 are benefic. What about quadrants? Of course, Lagna is benefic. It's a quadrant as well as a trine. What about the other 3 quadrants? 4, 7, 10. What did Parashara say? Does anybody know? Does anybody care about Parashara and read Parashara now and then? He said for Kendra, he said that Kendrahipati or Kendrahipatya is malefic if it is a benefic planet. If it is a natural benefic, Kendrahipatya makes them malefic. But if the planet is a natural malefic, he said Kendrahipatya is a neutral. It's not Papa then. But if Jupiter becomes a Kendrahipati, he becomes a Papa. So if you take somebody born in Virgo Lagna like me, Jupiter is a functional male, period. That is what Parashara taught. So here, Moon is a quadrant lord. To see if Moon is a functional benefic or malefic, we have to see if Moon is a natural benefic or malefic. If he is a natural benefic here, then it makes him functional malefic, having the 10th house lordship. If he is a natural malefic, then the 10th house lordship will make him functionally neutral. That is Parashara speaking, strict teaching. Here, this is Shukla Paksha, right? Is it? Yeah, this is Shukla Shashti. So, because this is Shukla Paksha, which is the waxing fortnight, Moon is a functional, is a natural benefic. Because he is a natural benefic, ownership of a Kendra, a quadrant, is bad for him. So, he becomes a functional benefic. So, point number 1, Moon is a functional benefic. So, as far as Lagna is concerned, Moon is not a good planet for life. I don't know the rationale. Ask Parashara. He is saying why Kendrahipatya, ownership of quadrants, malefics or function. Because it could be because you have to work hard. 3, 6 and 11 are have lot of initiative, have lot of drive, destroy people, etc. You have to really pursue things very vigorously. Kendras may not show that kind of problem, but they still show lot of work. Whereas signs show blessings.
They work hard.
Yeah.
And to get results required.
Yeah.
So what is telling you is that malefic.
Yeah.
You can work hard.
Basically, those planets are making you work, so they are bad for you. I mean, the only good functional benefits just want to, they are like, natural benefits are good people. They don't want to do anything. If you get a good person here, if you tell him move this sofa here, suppose you get Sri Subbarao here to sit in the class. Suppose we have to move this table or something. Do we ask Subbarao to do it or do we ask somebody else to do it? I'm not saying you are all natural malefic, but what I am saying is, in general, people who are considered good, Saumya, benefic, etc., you want them to just sit and relax, sit and enjoy.
You actually want the two people working hard.
I'm not saying we should, but if you make them work hard, they become functional malefic. Let me put it this way. They are softy.
Soft nature, they're like good.
If you make a softy work, if you make a softy lift weight, it may be bad. But if you ask Sanjay ji when he comes here, if you ask him to move lot of weights, there are a lot of weights here that you have to move there so that you can have the class. If you ask him to do it, all his energy may be gone for that, and he may not be able to teach you well, do the other job. Whereas, if you ask somebody strong like Sanjay, like Narayan, I'm not saying he's a natural malefic, but if you ask somebody who has that fire and cruelty within him, I mean, the word for natural malefic is cruel basically. Basically, those who have lot of energy, etc. Those who can bear things. If you ask somebody like that to take these weights, it may not really make a lot of difference to him. But if you tell him not to move small weights, but do a lot of big weights, tell him to move a lot of huge weights, it may even charge him up. After that, he may be so charged up that he does the rest of the job there. So similarly, when you look at natural malefics, owning the 3, 6, etc. may be good for them, but owning quadrants will be bad for you. Again, this is all intuitive analogy. Don't really. Some pseudo-rational. It's not really a rational. Pseudo-rational. You don't know 100% sure, but think along those lines. If you want to make your own understanding, think along those lines. But the bottom line is, Parashara said that these are functional benefits and these are functional benefits. So here, first of all, moon is a functional malefic. And that functional malefic is in Lagna. So, overall, is it good or bad? Overall, it's not so good, but you still not expect him to get sick. You still not expect things to be so bad, right? So, if you take the Hora Lord as the ruler of the day and see how he is placed in the chart, we are not happy. We get some sense, but are you fully happy? And even look at D6. Moon is in A6, but he is Lagna Lord. And he is in a quadrant. So here he is actually a functional benefit. He is Lagna Lord. Lagna Lord is the ultimate functional benefit. So as far as D6 is concerned, he is not at all showing any problem. So now let us turn to ruler of the day. Yeah. 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 If a planet owns two houses, you have to consider both the houses and make a judgment. If he is neutral one way and benefic the other way, sum totally somewhat benefic. If he is neutral one way, malefic other way, sum totally somewhat malefic. If he is benefic one way, malefic the other way, the sum totally neutral. So it depends on whether your Mercury gas becomes a functional benefic or functional malefic. I mean, it depends on whether he is a natural benefic or malefic, because based on it, the fourth house lordship will be either neutral or malefic. See what I am saying? How is your Mercury? Who is he with? He is all alone. Where? In Cancer, right? Cancer. Okay. So he has Gemini Lagna, and the Lagna Lord Mercury is alone in Cancer. When Mercury is either alone or with benefic planets, more benefic planets, he becomes a natural benefic. On the other hand, if he is with other malefic or with more malefic than benefic, then he becomes a natural malefic. So he changes his color. Mercury changes his nature based on who he is with. So here Mercury is alone. So he is a natural benefic. Benefic. By default he is benefic. There is no other influence.
And also the sign is very good.
Yeah, but that may or may not matter. But Mercury is, actually that may also have a role. It's a very judgment call in the case of alone Mercury. If he is with Jupiter or Venus, you know for sure that he is benefic. If he is alone, Parashara did not really say. Parashara just said, if he is with good planets, he is good. If he is with bad planets, he is bad. That's it. That's what Parashara said. If he is alone, what to do, Parashara did not say. But many people take him to be benefit if he is alone. But you may also want to consider the nature of the sign he is in. Yeah. So here, there is absolutely no question. Mercury is a natural benefit. When that natural benefit owns the fourth house, according to Parashara, it's not neutral. It is malefic. So fourth house lordship for Mercury is malefic. But the first house lordship is benefic. So the sum total is a neutral planet for you. But Lagna may dominate over the fourth house. Lagna is a really very important house. So you can say he's somewhat beneficial. But he's not a full benefit. Venus is a better benefit for you. So look at various benefits and malefics. Even Saturn is a benefit for you. He's the 8th and 12th lord, 8th and 9th lord. So Saturn is a functional benefit, Mercury is a functional benefit. Saturn is a functional benefit, Venus is a very good functional benefit. But Mercury is a little benefit. 6th and 12th, 12th is neutral. 5th is a benefit. Signs are benefit. Okay, now coming back, apart from, so this shows us that the ruler of the day, the Hora Lord, may not be the only planet. He may not be the important planet. There is another planet who is important. When it comes to health, physical vitality, which tattva is it? Agni, Jala, I told you earlier, Panchanga, the 5 elements of the Panchanga, Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Yoga, Karana. They correspond to the 5 elements. Fire, earth, water, air and ether. I told you that physical vitality, the life force within you, that is basically of fire, Agni. The Agni has to be burning. So the life within you is of Agni Tattva. So any health problems, physical vitality issues, if you see from Agni Tattva. What is the Panchanga element for Agni Tattva? Vara. Vara for Agni, Vara for fire, Tithi for water, Yoga for ether, Nakshatra for air, Karna for earth. So if you want to see the fire element, you should look at the Vara. What was the Vedic weekday on that day? At the time, what was the weekday running? Thursday. So Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet who controls the fire with him on that day. How is he placed? He is the third and sixth lord. He is a functional malefic. He is in the 12th house. Is it good for third and sixth lord to be in 12th house? Yes, Viparit Rajoga, provided he is alone or with other malefics. If he is with other third, sixth, eighth, 12th lord, one of those bad lords, then it is good for him to be in the 12th house. But he is with Ketu, the second lord, a neutral planet. Yeah, Maraka, okay, that's a separate thing. Yeah, that's a good point. But he is basically, as far as yoga is concerned, he is with a neutral planet. So this is not Viparit Rajoga. This is actually a bad placement. And being the sixth lord, the planet showing the physical vitality during the day, being the third and sixth lord of sickness, disease, struggling with the disease, overcoming the disease, fighting the enemy, those could be viruses and bacteria also, those could be your enemy. So that planet owns those houses. So there is a chance that this day will result in sickness. And look at the D6, because that is the real confirmation. Rashi only shows some. With the same Rashi chart, if you ignore this D6, just with this Rashi chart, all you can say is, during this day, there will be some obstacles. There will be some problems. It could be disease, or it could be a fist fight with somebody. There are so many possibilities. Or it could be a scholarly debate with somebody. He may disagree with somebody and say, no, I don't agree with it. Of course, Tejasu may not be that type, but that is a possibility. There are so many possibilities for the sixth house. To narrow down, you have to look at various divisional charts. And here, let us look at D6, because we already know that he is 6. Let's directly go to D6. In the D6 chart, how is Jupiter? He is the 6th and 9th lord. He is a neutral planet. But his bottom line is, he is the 6th lord. 6th house is the house of, what are the important houses of disease when you are looking at D6? 6, 8 and 12. 6 is getting sick, getting a virus, getting a bacteria, or being hit by somebody and breaking your bone. All these things are 6th house. 8th house is long suffering, a long disease, tension, anxiety, lot of suffering. What is 12th house? Hospitalization, being even if you don't go to a hospital, if you are limited to a bed in your house, that is 12th house. Basically being confined, that is 12th house. So these are the important houses if you want to see sickness. So is Jupiter connected with any of them? Is the 6th lord in the 8th house? And does he give Viparit Rajoga? No, because he is with various other planets. Yeah, but Ketu, the 6th lord, is there. If only Jupiter and Rahu were there, it would have been Viparit Rajoga. But remember what I said earlier. In D6 there is no Viparit Rajoga. There is only Viparita. If you see the 6th lord and 8th lord together in the 8th house, in D6, alone, without any other planet, normally we would have called it Viparit Rajoga. But when it comes to D6, it only shows sickness, suffering. So, yeah, this is the chart of suffering basically. So this is basically an exception kind of chart. And in any case, that is not the issue here. Here, the 5th lord Ketu is involved, the 2nd lord Shani is involved. So this is not a case of Viparit Rajoga. This is actually a case of lot of suffering. And also Jupiter is involved with Rahu and Ketu. Jupiter and Sun are afflicted by Rahu and Ketu here. So that shows basically sickness. And the thing is, even though Jupiter is the 6th lord, he is also the 9th lord. So he wants to give him obstacles and struggles, but he also wants him to overcome those, because 9th lord is the protector. But that protection is very weak, because he is in the 8th house, first of all, and he is afflicted by nodes. There is Guru Yoga. So basically this is, as far as physical vitality, the fire with him is concerned, this is a day when that fire will be struggling to burn. So that is what you can conclude from this. And also you should note that in this D6 chart, If you look at this D6 chart, the 8th house is so strong. So even if Jupiter was not the weekday lord, let us say Jupiter was not the weekday lord, somebody else was the weekday lord. Let's say it was just Monday. Still you can conclude, because D6 is so strong, 8th house is so strong, that you should be careful during that day. Ruler of the day, the Vara lord, all these are important, but irrespective of them, if the chart itself is very weak on that day, that can result in some problem. But if the Vara lord is also involved, it basically makes it strong. Okay? Okay, any other questions? Yes. Can you speak loud?
Yeah. I was thinking a very important age, relevant question. In your book, and in software, it is called the Astreka, and in other place it is called Astreka. What is exactly right? Astreka or Astreka?
Different people call it differently, but Aslesha is the one that is given in various languages. Yeah. In a lot of Telugu people call it Makha, and some people also call it Magha. I'm not 100% sure, because some Veda mantras give it as Magha, but Magha really doesn't have any meaning. Magha means, it means Yajna basically. And some of the imagery given for the nakshatra, the deities, the mantras, etc., do suggest something relating to Yajna. It could be Magha. The problem is, when we read the Veda mantras given in some books, there is some corruption. Kakha are sometimes written as Gha because of in the Tamil language. A lot of this literature was kept basically in the Tamil language, and in Tamil language people shun these various letters, and everything is written as Gha. So some Ka, Kha and Ga may have been corrupted as Gha. So it could be a corruption. I'm not 100% sure. I keep using Makha sometimes, Astreka sometimes. I'm not fully sure. But what's their name? What's their name? Yeah.
But when you saw that the Janmataka will become
Yeah. Actually, there are multiple opinions on that. When it comes to the Tara, when you can start things, a lot of people in Andhra Pradesh actually do not advise Janmatara. Many people actually avoid Janmatara, and there is another school that says that Janmatara is good for certain activities and not good for certain activities. So it's basically a grey area. Even though Dr. Raman Meha said that it is a good Tara, that is not a activity. Did he say for only some activities? If he said that, that is basically consistent with what majority believes. If he said that it is unconditionally like Sapatara or Mitratara is a good Tara for everything. Mitratara is a good Tara for everything. Sadhanatara is a good Tara for everything. So like that, if somebody says that Janmatara is good for all activities, that's not really the standard. Only for? Okay. For certain activities, Janmatara is considered good. And you can get the list from.
And the last question here, I am looking at the chart, and the second sentence is some advice saying, I'm very confused what you are doing now. You have to study.
Yeah.
I was looking at it and during some reading, but I was not very sure about it.
Okay. We will take it up, but he had a question. Let me take up. In case your question is shorter.
Very fast.
Yes, we will take
You
yours.
change the time to 27:28.
Yeah.
Does it matter when we see the
It may matter. May matter.
So we explain it with one
Yeah, it may matter. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, we are done. So his question was, we change the time to 28 from 27 and we saw everything. Does it change the D6 Lagna? It may, for all you know, the Lagna may be on the border. And then we'll have to basically be analyzed. So that was the question, and the answer was it did not change. I just changed the time. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll take your chart. The chart where you were confused. Yeah.
The data is November 23rd, 1921.
November?
23.
Yeah.
1971.
November 23, 1971. Yeah.
He gave at 3:49 p.m.
3:49 p.m.
Nashua,
Nashua,
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Okay. Can I save it under some name or initials or Chris? Chris' friend. Okay. So he's already 34 years old. This is confused about K. Okay. Yeah.
And his marriage is on 7/20/1997.
7/20/1997 married. Yeah.
Date of purchase is 12/24/2000.
12
24/2000.
2000 first child.
The second stage is 6/7/2003.
6
7.
June 7
Yeah, June 7/2003.
2003 second child. Boy or son? Boy or girl both?
He said both are boys, but you did get first one, you were not sure, but second one.
No, actually I will see that later. I just want to know what he said. When you said, he said both were boys, but I was wondering whether he had some doubts or something. I will see. We'll see. We'll have to live with it. It's a boy, it's a boy. You can't tell him, are you sure? He must be sure. He must be sure. We better check our technique. Next. Any other event? That's it? So he's a family person, only family is. Yeah, June 7, 2003. When did he join your job? What job does he do now?
Co-op in 24, around July 24.
What?
July 1924, he joined the group.
94 years.
July 24. That is joined as a co-op.
In 74 he was like,
43 years old.
okay, joined as a co-op.
Co-op or co-op?
Co-op. Co-op student. Basically student who works and gets credits for working, yeah. Co-op. Yeah.
And the person,
What kind of work did he do as a co-op? Okay, must have, then let's leave it, okay.
and the question is, the senior project lead.
So after that, when did he join a job? You don't know that. Okay. So what is he doing now?
He is a project leader of a very important project in a startup company.
Project lead in a startup.
In a startup.
Yeah.
Systems management is not doing well, and though his project is very important, systems management is not doing well.
Yeah.
He is getting other offers. He should have take them off or not.
Okay. So he is some kind of engineer.
He's an engineer.
Okay. So when you said he was confused about his career, not about what he should do,
No.
about his decision now. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about somebody who didn't know whether there should be a doctor or engineer or something like that. Okay.
The question is, should I take up this offer? The offer is in Colorado, it's Sunday here.
Okay. So right now he has an offer with him, which requires movement. Leaving this place and going to Colorado. Getting offers. Okay. So he needs advice. Okay. Should I take up a new job, this new offer, just stay with my old job where I'm unhappy, or explore some other opportunities here. Okay. So let us do that. First, let us quickly check the past events. I'll be a little bit quick because I want to end early today. I need to go somewhere. There is a dance program of my daughter that I need to go to. So I have to grab some food somewhere and go there. So I'll be ending by 11:15 today. So let us quickly go through the events. When did he get married? July 20, 1997. Did it make sense to you?
No.
Okay, so we'll see that.
It's a long time since
Oh, Lagna is, oh my god, it's on border in Rashi also. So this Lagna, as you can see here, it's at 0 degrees 6 minutes in Taurus. That means, if the time goes back by 19 seconds, the Lagna in Rashi chart itself goes from Taurus to Aries. So when people like this come to you, you have to be really careful. Aries. Okay, we'll see. So the dasha, whether it is Taurus or Aries, the dasha to be applied would still be the Vimshottari dasha, the regular Vimshottari dasha, right? You can check that later. But in both the cases, the dasha is the same. Sometimes you get into tricky situation. If it is Taurus, then this dasha. If it is Aries, then maybe Sun is in Lagna, 7th Lord is in Lagna, so another dasha will be applicable. So you have to consider both the charts with both the dashas and then draw the conclusions. Here there is nothing tricky. You just take one dasha, see which Navamsa Lagna makes sense. So see 1997, he was running Rahu Venus. Let's stick to answer this. Rahu Venus he was running. Is Rahu Venus capable of giving him marriage? Rahu Venus. Is there a chance? With this chart? Yeah. Yeah.
And Venus is the Taurus of marriage.
Yeah. Okay.
And Rahu is moon. Rahu and moon, I don't know if Venus is up there.
Yeah. But he's your Upada Lord with the 7th Lord. Both have the same agenda.
And more important, Venus is the lower side.
Yeah.
So he can give. Venus can be married.
He can give marriage anytime, and also he is Rahu's dispositor, 7th Lord's dispositor. So there is some chance. And in Rashi chart also, Venus is placed in Upada. So there is some reasonable chance that Rahu Venus can give marriage. Now, of course, if you move back to the previous Lagna, still there may be a chance. But let us say, for now, let's assume that this is right. Because we are not looking for perfect, on the dot kind of explanation. Let's see if it basically makes sense. So let us do the same for various things and then come back and see fine tune. So look at D7. This is the chart of children. So he had 2 children. One in 2000 and one in mid 2003. So one was 2000 means Rahu Moon. Rahu Moon gave him a child. Now, forgetting the dasha and the dasha, is there a chance that this will be a boy? He has 2 boys, right? He said. This is Scorpio. The first child is from the 5th house counted backwards because it is an even sign. So 5th house counted backwards is Cancer. Lord is Moon. Where is he? Moon is with Rahu in Libra. Libra shows a male child. Rahu shows male child. So there is a decent chance that the first child is a male child. And can it be Rahu Moon under the dasha? Very much. Because they are the planets. And second child. Is there a second child? Yeah, because we jump. Rahu and Ketu are not playing spoil sports here. So we jump from Cancer to Libra, 7th house. So no, but we start here. This is where you started. So that's not considered jumping. But from here if you go, that's considered jumping. On the other hand, if Rahu was in the house itself, the 6th house itself, then you should consider there a chance. So now, is there a point that you want to make? Is there asking? So there is a point that you want to discuss, not make. Okay. So let us see the second child. So did Rahu under dasha give the second child? No. 2003 middle. So it was the next under dasha. It was the Jupiter period that gave the next child. Now let us see. The second child is from Venus. The second, this is the house. See where Venus is. Venus is in Sagittarius. Will it be a boy or a girl? Yeah, aspects are secondary. See any planets who are in that house. Not Venus, not counting Venus, any other planets. If there are, they will decide. If there aren't, or if there are equal influences of male and female planets, see what kind of sign it is. So, in the case of Moon, we said that Moon is with Rahu. We also said that it is in Libra, but that is irrelevant. Irrespective, because Moon is with Rahu, that would have been a boy anyway. Here, Venus is alone. So, see what sign, Sagittarius. Odd sign or even sign? Odd sign. 12, 11, 10, 9. 9 is an odd number. So this is an odd sign. Odd sign means male. Even sign means female. So it's again a boy. Who can give that boy? Somebody who is associated with Sagittarius. Because this is the Lagna for the boy. Somebody who influences Lagna. Just like here for this boy, first boy, the Lagna had Rahu and Moon influence. And so it happened in Rahu Moon Antardasha. For the second boy, it has to be Venus Venus or Venus Jupiter or Jupiter Venus or Jupiter Jupiter. Because Venus is in Lagna and Jupiter is the Lord, aspecting and also Lord of the Lagna. So it can be Jupiter or Sun. Sun is aspecting Lagna. So it can be Venus, Sun, Jupiter. Those periods can give the child. So is there a surprise that Jupiter actually gave the child? It happened as soon as Jupiter came? No. So is there a chance that this actually Taurus Lagna is correct and we don't have to go back to Aries? Because boy and boy is making sense. And also the marriage made pretty decent sense. And moreover, boy and boy, not only boy and boy made sense, but the Dasha and Antardasha at the time of the birth of both the boys are pretty good, quite acceptable. So we can conclude, and also we can go back to the Aries, the end of Aries, and look at that. But Seshu has already confirmed for us that he did it and he got a boy and girl. Okay, so usually it will. Okay. Well, usually if Ketu is there or Rahu is there, the next child is very difficult. Will be born after a lot of difficulty, unless the next sign has Jupiter's protection, either Jupiter or Venus. And here it is Jupiter's own house. Jupiter is aspecting it. So in such cases, Jupiter may force to jump and go to the next child. But in such cases, that is the end. There will not be any further children. Actually, there is one possibility of jumping over Ketu. And here possibly, hopefully you are saying that she is already pregnant. So there is a good chance, very good chance actually that it will be protected, because this Jupiter in Virgo is protecting Pisces. He is the lord of that sign. He is aspecting that sign by Rasdrishti, by Grahdrishti. So there is full Jupiterian protection. So if they pray to Shiva, assuming that they believe in Hindu prayers, if they pray to Shiva, get something done for Shiva, within a home or something, that will absolutely ensure that nothing will happen. Otherwise, there may be some tension, but actually, when I look at all the factors, I do believe that Jupiter is quite a good planet here. Jupiter is the overall controlling planet, being the fifth lord, and he is affecting that house, and he is in the 11th house of gain. He is quite strong. So Jupiter should save. And will it be a boy or girl? It's likely to be a girl, because it is, even though Jupiter is a male planet, he is in Virgo, not Pisces. We don't care about Pisces. If you care about the signs, Cancer, Libra, Virgo, Cancer, Libra, Pisces, it will be a male, female, male, female, male, female, or female, male, female, male. If you just go by the house, there is a clear pattern. That's not the case. You go by the Lord of the sign. So the third child is shown by Pisces, but take the Lord, he is Jupiter, he is in Virgo. So this becomes the Lagna for the child. So when the new child is born, it will be a child with lot of Jupiterian quality, lot of Virgo quality. So that's that kind of person. Sun in the 10th house with lot of Vipala. So somebody who will be a good man in good administrative positions, etc. So you can make lot of reading. But bottom line is, Ketu in the 8th, Jupiter in Lagna will make that child a very spiritual and noble child. And there is a very good chance that this Jupiter will protect the child, and it will happen. And again, Jupiter, of course, it is likely to happen in Jupiter Dasha, but under Dasha, from what you are saying, sounds like it will be Saturn. It doesn't make full sense, but there is some sense. He's in a trine from Jupiter, and he is aspecting this sign. So there is some sense, but it's not a solid explanation like we saw for the last two children. Now, let us assume that this is right. This sign is right. Maybe it can go back by up to 19 seconds, but not more than that. And it can go forward by a little bit. We saw Saptamsa and Navamsa, and we will probably have like 7 minutes or 8 minutes or maybe 10 minutes, 10-minute window. So we have a 10-minute window forward. So let's live with that. What's the time given? 3:49. So when they say 3:49, it's unlikely to be 4 o'clock. could be 352, 353. So maybe we have pragmatically speaking, we have a window of 90 seconds backwards and we have a window of maybe 3-4 minutes forward. So let's assume that that's the window. And let's see Dashamsha now. And as a matter of fact, if I remember right, Dashamsha would not change. Whether you take the end of Aries or Taurus beginning, Dashamsha would still be the same. So probably you would have got the same. Did you get the Capricorn Lagna in Dashamsha? You must have. It wouldn't change. Because our art signs last Dashamsha and the next event signs first Dashamsha will always be the same. That is how Dashamshas are designed. So you start from the Aries. When you find the Dashamshas in Aries, you start from Aries, you go up to Capricorn. That is the 10th sign. Then for the next sign, you start again from Capricorn and take 10th sign. So that is how it goes for Dashamsha. So probably your analysis as far as Dashamsha is concerned is still right. Even though the time you took is probably wrong, it is still right. So now let us see the Dashamsha. Let us see what Dasha he is running right now. We can look at Vimshottari also, but because we are talking about a very short-term decision, is this the right time for change or not? Let us quickly go to Tithi Pravesha. When I don't have a lot of time, when somebody asks me for an advice, and I must give an advice in the next 10 minutes, usually this is what I do. I just go to Tithi Pravesha chart. I don't even bother about Vimshottari. Because in Vimshottari there are so many layers of interpretation. If you miss some, you may misjudge. But in Tithi Pravesha, vanilla techniques will simply work. Because you are talking about a short period. So let's use vanilla techniques and let's use Tithi Pravesha. So let's take the annual chart of 2004. Because his birthday is in November, it hasn't come yet. And hopefully he'll be making decision before November. So we'll look at the next few months by looking at 2004 annual chart. This chart is cast on November 17, 2004 at 7:14:22 a.m. And let's look at the Hora Lord. Who's the ruler of the year? Who's the ruler of the year? Mercury is the ruler of the year as well as Karna Lord. Karna is basically for accomplishments, etc. That is the active element. So Mercury is a very key planet as far as work is concerned. See how Mercury is during this period. Is he good? Is it a good year or bad year? Has it been a good year or bad year? How is Mercury placed here? Is Mercury's agenda good or bad? What houses does he own? 8th Lord and 11th Lord, a functional malefic in the Lagna. Good or bad? Undoubtedly bad. Bad with respect to what? We don't know. We have to look at various divisions. But it's a year of lot of anxiety, lot of tension, lot of changes, lot of uncertainty, etc. And Mercury is afflicting Sun in Lagna. Sun owns 10th house. So when the 8th Lord is afflicting the 10th Lord, can you conclude that there will be some problems relating to career, some tension, anxiety relating to career? So when you see this, the thing that stands out, when you look at the yogas of the houses owned, houses occupied, and the yogas of the ruler of the year, the king of the year, you will get a decent sense of what is this year all about. And looking just at Rasi chart, this year could be a year of lot of tensions, especially relating to career. Or Sun could also relate to fathers, or relating to father, relating to bosses, relating to career, etc. There could be some tension. So that is one conclusion you can draw for this year. Yes? Yeah? Yeah. No planets in 5th sign. What do you mean? Sun and Mercury are in 5th sign. What is the point you want to make? I'm lost. Okay, I'll give you your time. Take your time. Take your time, but you have 2 more minutes. I'm ending in 2 more minutes. So that is point number 1. And point number 2, look at the D10 with the Shamsa chart. How is Mercury in the Shamsa chart? 1 second. Saturn. This is Lagna. Okay. So good. So if you see the Saptamsa chart, you see that Lagna has Jupiter and Lagna Lord Mercury is in 5th house, in the controlling house. So overall good year with respect to children and happiness with children. In the Rashi chart also, Jupiter is the 5th lord, he is in the 11th house and aspecting 5th house. So as far as children is concerned, he is happy. And the news of a new child coming also is possible. But let us now go back to Dashamsha and focus on career. So how is Mercury in Dashamsha? Lagna and 10th lord is in the 6th house. So what does Mercury in the 6th house show? Is it good or bad house for Mercury to be in? Good house. For Mercury, 6th house is a good house. 6th and 8th houses are good. For me? Just for Mercury. Certain houses are good for Mercury. 4th house, 6th house, 8th house, 10th house, 11th house. These are good for Mercury. If you look at Ashtakavarga definition, you will know what are good houses from Lagna for various planets. So you can memorize that. So for Mercury, 6th house is a good house and he shows lot of obstacles, etc. So during this year, there may be lot of obstacles, etc. that he has to overcome. But is he participating in a good yoga? Because yogas of the ruler of the year are very important. Is he participating in a good yoga? Yeah. 9th and 10th lord, 9th and 1st lord, they are conjoined together. This is a very auspicious yoga. There is a Raj Yoga, yes. But one of the planets in the yoga is in Manakarka Sthana. Is it good for a planet to be in a yoga with somebody who is dying, who is really irritated at being there? Not really that good. So that is the problem. So who is in Manakarka Sthana? 2nd lord and 9th lord. So what is basically dying this year? What is the thing that is suffering almost as if it's dying? 9th house and 2nd house. So the guidance that he gets in his work from superior, what kind of direction and guidance they give him, what kind of protection they give him, what kind of bossing they give him, that is 9th house. And what is 2nd house? What kind of resources they supply him with. So with respect to those areas, there is some serious problem because a planet is in Manakarka Sthana and he has the ear of the ruler of the year. So if he is pissed off about something, the ruler of the year knows about it and the whole year knows about it. The whole kingdom knows about it if king knows about some problem. So that is basically, so looking at it, whatever he is saying, I am really irritated at my company's management direction, it is not good. It makes very decent sense based on the Rashi chart as well as the D10 chart. Yeah, we'll talk about it. So let us look at the dasha that is running right now. What dasha is he running right now? He is running Jupiter dasha right now. Is Jupiter dasha a good dasha? Yeah. He is Badhaka Lord. He is the 4th lord and he is also Badhaka Lord. Jupiter is the Badhaka Lord in the 2nd house. Can Badhaka Lord bring changes in career?
Especially if you do traveling.
Yeah. Can. Yeah. So. First of all, will Jupiter give him some strong desire and direction in career? Yeah. 7th house could be business, but 6th is much stronger than 7th house. But it will show some strong desire of something better. And is there a chance that he will get some happiness and some comfort in the career? 4th house is the house of sukha, happiness, feeling relaxed, feeling happy, feeling at peace. The peace is from the 4th house. The peace in career is from 4th house in D10. And overall during this year, is it good or bad? Is the peace good or bad? Is 4th house strong or weak? Who's in the 4th house? The 3rd lord Ketu. 3rd is basically giving up sukha. 3rd is the 12th from 4th. If you take this as Lagna, this is the 12th house. So Ketu is the 12th lord from 4th house. So he shows loss of comfort. So the planet who shows loss of peace is in the house of peace. And Rahu is aspecting it. He is the 6th lord of anxiety, not anxiety but obstacles, overcoming them, hard work, etc. So that planet is aspecting this. So 4th house is being hammered by nodes. So there is no sukha. If at all there is sukha, if at all there is some hope, who is the hope? The 4th lord. The fourth lord, Jupiter, is having Argala on it. He owns it and has Argala on it. So he can give some comfort and some peace in career. So during this period, there can be some peace in career. And being the Badhaka lord, he can give an unexpected change, or it can be also tension. This can be a career-related tension also. Badhaka lord will give some inexplicable worry. Should I change or not? Should I go to Colorado? Should I do this? Should I do that? So that kind of tension can be given by Jupiter. But overall, Jupiter being the fourth lord, at least as far as peace is concerned in the year, Jupiter should give some peace. And see, pardon me? He is in the Artha Trikona. He is in the second house and he is aspecting the sixth house, and he is aspecting that he has Graha Drishti on the 10th house, and he has Rashi Drishti as well as Graha Drishti on the 10th lord. So Jupiter has a positive influence on various Artha Trikonas, and in the Rashi chart, is he a good planet or a bad planet? 70 degrees, 29 degrees. So it's a very weak yoga, but there is a Raj Yoga between Venus and Jupiter. He is the fifth lord of fame, recognition, etc. And he is aspecting the fifth house. He has a yoga in the 11th house. He is in Arudha Lagna. So overall his image, Mercury is a benefit, giving Raj Yoga. So overall for his image, Jupiter Dasha is going to be a very favorable Dasha. His image should be protected and perhaps increased during this Dasha. And in the Dashamsha chart, he is in A10. What is A10? It is basically tangible career. Project manager at so-and-so company, principal software engineer at so-and-so company. All these titles are tangible, so they are seen from Arudha Lagna. So A10 shows the actual job that he is doing. And Jupiter is Badhakecha. The Badhaka lord being in A10, can he show some change in the job? He can definitely show. So during Jupiter period, there is a chance of job change. So the chart is showing that during this period there can be a change in job. So your advice is very, very correct advice. And Rahu Dasha, do you expect Rahu Dasha to be good? Assuming that he changes, will Rahu Dasha be a good Dasha? September, October? Well, Rahu is the sixth lord in the 10th house. So he is associated with two Artha Trikonas. He has a Parivartana with the ruler of the year, Mercury. Yeah, he is aspecting the second house. So for various of these reasons, it's Dasha important in career, but nevertheless he is the sixth lord. He is in A6. He is in UL. So it may involve some compromises, some adjustments, and also overcoming some obstacles. A lot of changes if there are a lot of changes in career, it may take him some time to adjust. So all that anxiety is shown by Rahu Dasha. But how is the next Venus Dasha? It will probably be for a few days, but it's a superb Dasha. Why is that? But that result is given by Mercury. So during this March 30 to May 29, during April-May time period, he would have felt terrible. He would have felt as if his bosses are idiots. So whatever you told you, my bosses are making stupid decisions, he would have felt it throughout the year, but during April and May it would have been at the peak. Because Mercury Dasha would give Venus results. I am ignoring Rahu's exchange here. So just exchanging the results of Venus and Mercury. So Mercury Dasha would have given Venus results. Venus would give Mercury results, the ruler of the year results. So Lagna and 10th lord results. So this will be a good thing. So at the end of the year, I see auspicious changes. Despite some tension, auspicious changes till September 10. And from September 10 to October 21, some tension, some obstacles, some worries, irritations, etc. And finally from October 21, getting all set. And let's quickly, before we conclude the class, quickly see how the next year is. Because whenever you advise somebody, yes, go ahead and change, you should see how the next year is. Because for all you know, this Dasha may be conducive to change, but next Dasha may hammer him. So in that case, you should tell him, yes, I think you will change anyway, but next year seems even worse. This company may be even worse. Be careful. So if you prepare him mentally for that, he will be prepared. He will not tell you, why didn't you tell me? So look at how the next year is. Because when people come to you, they may come to you without expectation. But when they go away from you, they go with a lot of expectation. And when things don't go right, they may feel unhappy about you. And it is bad karma for you. For me? So look at how the next year is, just to get a sense of whether it is good or bad. Who's the ruler of the year? Moon. Moon is having Parivartana with Lagna and 7th Lords are having Parivartana, and the Yogakaraka Venus is joining them. Moon is at 28 degrees, Venus is at 1 degree, Saturn is at 17 degrees. So the yoga is not that strong, but nevertheless, Moon is taking part in a Raj Yoga with Venus and Saturn. 1st Lord, 7th Lord, 5th Lord, 10th Lord. Superb Raj Yogas on Lagna given by ruler of the year as well as Lagna Lord. See, like ruler of the year, Lagna Lord is a key planet. So Lagna Lord, ruler of the year are giving superb Raj Yogas. Not very strong, but moderately strong, because the degrees are far apart in degrees. And look at the Dashamsha. Secondly, look at the Dashamsha. And actually, even in Rashi chart, there is one more point to be made. A9, A10 and A4 are in Capricorn with Moon and Venus. The conjunction of A9, A10 and A4 is like a material Raj Yoga. A9 is the tangible fortune that you enjoy. A10 is your tangible career. A4 is your tangible sukha, your tangible happiness. You may be happy or unhappy inside you, but what the people see you as being happy or unhappy is A4. So he will see Moon and Venus are both planets of happiness, relaxation, enjoyment. So because those very auspicious planets are in those three Aruda Padas, he will seem like a very fortunate man with a very good career, having lot of happiness and peace. That is how he will seem like to the world during the next year. So you can conclude that after this change, when the new year comes, it will be a very auspicious year for him. So you can conclude at least for 1 year. If something goes wrong after that, you are not responsible. So you are giving him an advice to change now, and I think he will do well in the next 1 year. So your advice is a sound advice. But if he has belief in Hindu religious methods, tell him this time, December 6th, whatever time is, find out the time and day, and tell him when the new year starts at that time, tell him to do some prayer at a temple or at his home. And to whom? Moon, Venus and Saturn are the planets. So Moon and Venus. Who would Moon and Venus show? Of course, some form of Divine Mother. Moon and Venus show some form of Mother. So Lakshmi or Parvati or somebody. Tell him to pray to actually, Venus shows Lakshmi. And Moon-Venus combination, one of the possibilities is to show Amriteshwari. So you can direct him to Mata Amritanandamayi, Ammachi, and pray to Amriteshwari. Because Venus is the planet of overcoming death, Moon is the planet of Amrita. So Moon and Venus combination could show Amriteshwari or any form of Divine Mother, the Lakshmi or Parvati. So tell him to worship the Divine Mother from 11 o'clock to 11:30. If he doesn't believe, then forget it. Or Mother Mary. Yeah, Moon and Venus, Virgin Mary. So tell him, if he is a Christian, tell him to take a bow to Virgin Mary. I am not really familiar with Christianity, but if there are any procedures that they do, rituals or any kind of things that they do for Mother Mary, tell him to do it on that day at that time. It will be very auspicious. Even if he doesn't do it, next year is a good year. If he does it, it will be even better. That's why I am telling you. So tell him to change the job and all the best for the next year. Tell him that there may be a couple of months of some tension, some worry, but tell him that next year will be very auspicious. So with that I will end the day for today. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. What Bhagha Markasthana? Yeah? Yeah. He's a Bhagha Lord. Bhagha Lord usually brings changes. By the way, we didn't see D4. Let us see D4 and see if there is a chance of change in president. Just like Bhagakesha in D4 shows change of place, Bhagakesha in D10 shows some change in career, some sudden change in career. Yeah.
I think that did you get it?
Yes, I did get it. I didn't get a chance to reply to it. I'll hopefully reply during this week. Yeah. I'm in a hurry to leave now.
Okay.
Try to reply. And I told my wife to send you a CD.
Already.
If I knew that you
I
already...
don't need because I already take everything from internet.
Okay. Oh, even the 57 MB version?
Yes.
Oh, then you're all set.
Okay.
Okay, in case she hasn't yet sent it, I'll tell her not to send it. She already sent it.
Okay.